What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another special episode of Bringing No Song. And today we're gonna dive into some crazy orchestral stuff. But let's skip to that titled cutscene thing and crack on with the video. Now this is also a special video because it's technically the last video I'm gonna be filming in this space. I'm moving to a new studio. This has been basically my room in my house for ages, and I've been meaning to get out of here for a while. Long overdue, but we're getting there. So you'll be getting a video update about that soon. But with that said, let's crack on with this video. So in this video, we're going to be checking out orchestral libraries. Orchestral libraries are usually quite posh in the sense they usually come with a bit of a price tag. They're usually quite massive libraries, going anywhere between 20 gigs to like 200, 500 gigs. These libraries get insane. But the good guys at Spitfire Audio have gifted us with a wonderful free orchestral library called BBC Symphony Orchestra. Now you might be thinking, bro, I just went on the website. This thing is £899. What are you talking about free? Just make sure you go on the Discover one because that gives you the whole orchestra, but it's a very narrowed down version. I believe it's like one sample per note type thing. So like clearly the sample library is going to be a lot smaller, but you still get a wonderful taste of the quality of Spitfire with all of these available sounds that are basically free. And if we take a look at the plugin right here, this is it. You can see it's laid out as an orchestra would be laid out on a stage. So we've got the Violin 1, Violin 2, Violas, Celli, basses, all the horns on each side. We've got the Woodwinds at the back and then Percussion at the far back. And also bear in mind, things like the piano, which lives in the front, has just one type of articulation, classic piano. But then if you go into like the strings, you can see we've got a couple different articulations which allow us to be a lot more creative, or in the case of percussion, we've actually got just different types of percussion. So with that said, I'm gonna get some headphones, I'm gonna stick up the top camera, and let's dive into this plugin. Also really quick before we kick off, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe and the bell and all that good stuff. The support really helps. And with that said, let's crack on with the video. Okay, we're locked in now. Let's check out this pack. As you can see, lots of sounds to pick from. I have gone ahead and just made a bunch of tracks with all the different instruments. So I've got them all here. We can give them a quick blast and see what they sound like. Starting with the piano. It's an okay piano. I prefer some of the ones you can find on Spitfire Labs. If you want to check out the video, got it linked up there. Yeah, let's dive in and see how everything sounds. Okay, so you just got a glimpse of all the sounds. As you can hear, they sound great. Some of the sounds you can feel that they're kind of one sample per note type thing, but otherwise they sound really awesome. They live in a beautiful space, and I do have a little reverb send set up here, so if I want to take the violin, put it in a little bit of a hole, as opposed to, there's already a little bit of reverb on there, and you always have the option for more with this big knob here. You've got these two faders, simply dynamics and expression. Expression is more just volume. Dynamics is actually the control of how hard the player is playing. That's usually controlled by the mod wheel. And then the expression is more just of a general volume, but they usually work together. I've seen composers use like two faders at once. Oh, in this case, controls the volume. But you can use both of those in conjunction to get some really realistic expression out of the sounds. I'm not going to get too deep into that because I just want to show off the nice free plugin, make some string orchestral sounds. With that said, I want to try build one of my favorite pieces. I don't actually know what the song name is called, so I can't even look it up for reference, but you might have caught a glimpse of it as I was playing through the sound. That's one of the songs out of Star Wars, but there are so many songs in Star Wars, God knows what the name of it is. So I'm just going to try, put something together, build it with this, and then we can dissect it a bit and see what all the sounds are. Let's go. So you just heard what we're working with. I've tried my best to use all the sounds. Bear in mind, this is also, you know, I've tossed this together maybe half an hour. So if it doesn't sound like the real deal, don't slate me for it. This is just something fun to test out all of the sounds we're working with. I quite like the result of it. I've even gone ahead and used the piano, even though that might not necessarily be piano in the song. But you get the idea. We're really just trying to see how we can push this. I've played with the expression a little bit, even though I wasn't really planning on it, but naturally I found myself really riding that outro as I kind of got it to be a bit more big and luxurious towards the end. But otherwise, let's break it down bit by bit. You can hear, if we check out maybe just the strings, I'll solo them and we can take a listen to that. So we've got this. Overall, I really dig the sounds. I would love to, you know, if I had a minute, I would probably have a minute if I was actually programming strings on a normal day, but for the sake of the video, I've left it. But I would probably go through all the MIDI and tidy up all the loose ends where you can hear releases like overhanging to other notes or maybe cutting off a bit too short. That's, for me, is just part of the process of programming these kind of sounds. Overall, I really like the sounds. I think they're really nice. If we dive into the brass, this is what we're working with. Super lush. I love the horns, especially the ones actually labeled as horns. These ones are my favorite. Like that sound to me is so like, oh my god, it takes me to like Back to the Future or something like this. wicked sounds. You get the gist, like it's very high quality sounds, even considering the limitations we have on the samples. Now, if you do want to go ahead and pick up yourself the full fat version of this program, I'm sure you get a lot more articulations with the sounds. The samples will be a lot bigger per note, so you'll actually get a sense of realism in the performance. After all, considering this is free, it does a pretty banging job. So, with that said, let's check out the Woodwinds. Really lush. I really like the clarinet in particular. I think this sounds wicked. It's also got this staccatissimo. But yeah, you get the idea. Really nice woodwinds. Lastly, we've got the percussion. I'm using all of it and some, because I've decided to use both the timpani hits and the tuned percussion. And since we can't actually hear musical context, I'm gonna leave in some of the strings, maybe the horns and the bass. So I've got a little bit of backing, but let's hear how this sounds. Cymbals a little loud, but otherwise I think it sounds wicked. I think it sounds really cool, considering, you know, the limitations we have. But the limitations, we've got a full orchestra, so how many limitations do you actually have? I think you might have noticed, looking through a couple of these, there's two things that pop up for me. Is one, I'm doing a lot of holding of one note. I find because you have all of these layers, I mean, it's an orchestra, so you've got like a bunch of instruments playing at the same time. If you hold one note, it leaves room for the other melodies to play on top. And in this case, if I've got a melody going on, it's probably a couple of instruments all playing it in unison. You can see some of them are playing in chords, which isn't very orchestra-like. I mean, maybe they might do fifths or something like this, maybe. But basically, I find in orchestral music, the chord is split amongst the orchestra. So you'll have like the basses doing the roots, maybe the violins doing either an octave up or maybe a fifth or even a major or a minor. Whenever I'm programming orchestral stuff, I try to keep that in mind because it makes it sound a bit more realistic. In this, I was just playing with the sounds and seeing what sounded nice in the moment. But if I were to program this for a song and there's a bunch of stuff already going on, I'd try to be a bit more sparse with the programming just to make sure it's not taking up too much real estate. Because if you think of like an orchestra, it's like low end to high end, it's everything in between. So you have to be really specific and particular with what notes you pick and how wide you spread that frequency. But otherwise, we've got a piano in there and it's just kind of keeping time, basically. Just a little pulse. I'll probably slap a bunch of reverb on there just to give it a sense of space. And there you have it. That is the Spitfire BBC Symphony Orchestra. Such a cool program. I will highly recommend that you go try it out. I'll link it in the description below so you can go and pick that up and go make some orchestral music. I mean, or try use some strings or whatever in your song, see how it goes. For me, I get some great enjoyment out of this. I get great enjoyment out of most free sample libraries, but this one in particular. So go check it out. Also, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate the support to anyone who's already done so. Once again, I've been Chris Vella. I'll see you guys on the next one.